Here's one of them. So one of my Trugs has got the sewing machine, or you can't see, sewing machine feet in there, and some binding clips. Binding clips, walking foot, because I'm quite often changing that, and then my little sewing machine feet. So this can just sit on my, oh, that's thread, sit on my tabletop. It is that shape, and this is the one we're going to do tonight. And then you can, which I meant to do that as well, you could put a little cam snap here, okay, and hold it together. But while it sits on the desk, it's like that. So this one is middle-sized. I then got baby. So this one is baby-sized against this one is large. So there's large. And I can put, they all sit inside each other. And there is baby, who sits in there just like that. Or perhaps I should put this one first, shouldn't I? There is my feet one. Let's put those in there. But they all fit inside each other. Oh, I've got that one the wrong way around now, haven't I? So they are all, oh, I've got them both the wrong way around. That's why. So, no, I haven't. Yes, I have. That's because I'm holding them up. Okay. So little one, medium, and bigger one. So that's what we're going to make. And believe you me, it doesn't take much fabric at all. So just for a change. So I made them in some fabric that was lying around. I don't think Vanessa bought you that for sewing kits. I think she meant it for Chocky and Sweet. Absolutely. That's why I can see, well, there's lots of comments there, which, let me see where I can put this so I can see. Oh, I've got nothing. I've cleared the desk, so I've got nothing to prop it up on now. What could I do? I know what I could do. Let me get my sewing station. Remember this? Here's my sewing station. Love my sewing station too. I just have to move everything out of that into my carousel. Right, let's see. Oh, you've completely caught up. What are we talking about? There we are. Right, I am back. But I want to move that just there. And now I can't see any comments. Come on. Oh, for goodness sake. Why do I touch anything? I tell you. Right, let's go back here. And we'll go back into it. Then hopefully, oh, there we are. 34D. Yes. Can I ask you, can you thread the handles through one and the other and hang on? Yeah, you could. I mean, I have fairly short handles on mine, but they could be even longer. So this one, yep, like that. What a good idea. What a brilliant idea. So if you make your handles even a little bit longer than that, it will be really, really easy. Okay, so let's just pop those back in there because I am wittering, aren't I? So I'm going to make them in Christmas fabric. And I have got a little bit of this one. Would they take a hot dish? If you used Insel Bright instead of H640 or fusible fleece, I'm using fusible fleece with this. But yes, you'll be fine. Okay, so we're using that fabric and that fabric. And then I've got some lining, which we'll cut because there's special little ways to do that. And there's my handles, which I've already done, which I'm going to cut into two. So let's have a look. That would fall on the floor, wouldn't it? Okay, let's plop it this side. So, right, I'm going to pop this down first of all. So bear with one moment. There we go. Oh my goodness, I tell you, everything is just falling everywhere today. Let's just shift that along a little bit. That is great. So I'm going to pop that there. So what we have, the templates. The templates, I'd like you, when you make yours, to cut the fusible fleece to the size of the template. And then we will cut the fabric just a little bit bigger. So that is what I have already done. So you'll need 2 of the curved template pieces, and you will need 1 of the straight piece. So that is the piece that basically curves under the bottom. So that is the base of it. So when we cut these, I am going to use scissors. So I've fused them onto the back of the fabric, and I'm going to cut 1/4 inch. So I'm sure you will be able to gauge 1/4 inch. What I would say, don't cut it too wide, because we are going to have the fusible fleece, which is, we'll be able to see it when we stitch, so that we can use that as a guideline. If you happen to stitch onto the fusible fleece, absolutely fine, don't worry about it. But if we can, oh, that went a little bit small. If you can just cut around these and give yourself a seam allowance of roughly 1/4 inch. You can see that there. We'll throw that little bit on the floor, and then we'll see that like that. And then I'm just going to cut around this one as well. So just eyeball it, or if you have got one of those little discs with a hole in the middle that's 1/4 inch, you could actually mark all the way around, go around the edge, mark all the way around, and you'll have your perfect 1/4 inch seam as well. So we can just cut that away so that we've got a lovely seam allowance. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the rotary mat, and I'm going to use my ruler to cut around here so that I've got 1/4 inch left around that edge, rather than bring in the cutting mat. It won't take me 2 seconds. Well, it will take me about 15 seconds. But I'm just using the edge of the fusible fleece to line my ruler up with, and trimming that away. And I'm just on the last little bit now. But I wanted to show you what it looked like before we did the trimming. So you can see there, I've just trimmed that, so I've got 1/4 inch seam allowance. So once we have our 1/4 inch seam allowance, what we then need to do is before we do any stitching, let's take our lining fabric, which is a little bit big, and we're going to use these pieces as our template for the lining. So I'm sure we'll have enough of the depth there. Let's just see. Oh, spot on. Right, so let's just line that up with those. So when you have, I'm just doing it on my needle bed. So I'm using one of my pieces to cut around so that I have got, there we are. So now I'm using my piece that I have cut to 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I've put 2 pieces of fabric together, and I'm just cutting around here. Now that's right on a fold, so I'm just going to cut along there. If you're doing this at home, put it on your cutting mat, and you can go around with your rotary cutter. That's why I've put pins in here, just to hold it together, so that I have now got 2 lining pieces, which are exactly the same size as my template pieces plus the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I've got all of those. Now I just need to cut a piece that is the same as this. So again, I'm just going to pop to, being rectangular, I'm going to pop to my cutting mat, just line that up and trim that to size. Just bring that down there, just a tiny bit. trim that off there, and I will have a lining piece which is exactly the same. Oof, okay, got my scissors here, didn't quite go far enough. There we go. So I've got a lining piece exactly the same size as my outer base piece. Okay, so that's all we need. So what we do first of all, it's all in the instructions as well. With our piece here, my base piece, if we fold it in half along the long side, okay, and make sure that is perfectly in half, and then at the folded edge, so here is my loose edge, at the folded edge here, I'm going to make cut a tiny little bit so that I know exactly where the centre is, and I'm doing that on both sides. So there is my length, and you can see that little notch. Oh, hard to see, here it is. That little notch cut out there and there. So that's halfway across. It's finding the centre point across there. And then I'm going to do the same with my side pieces, my curved pieces. Line that up and little nick there. So now I've got the tiniest, that's hard to see, but I've got the tiniest little, which is halfway around the curve. So we're doing this on the curved edge, because guess what? We're going to be putting the curved edge, there we are, another one, the curved edge to a straight edge. So with these two pieces, so my lining pieces, what I'm going to do, I've put them together and folded them so that I cut through two pieces at the same time. So there is my little nick there. Okay, so we are ready now. So what I'm going to do with the first piece is take the length of the base, and I'm going to place one of my curved pieces right sides together, and I'm going to line that notch with that notch there. Okay, so I've lined that notch up, and I'm going to put a pin in there, and then I'm going to get to this end here, and I'm going to line up that piece right at the end here. So this is lined up with the short edge of the base piece. So what we have is we've got this curve, and it's going to come round to this other side as well. So it's right up to this short edge and here. Now, what is easy, I don't know if you saw, somebody on Sewing Street was, oh, I know, it was White Gecko, was doing, what were they doing? Drunkard's Path, something like that, but they were putting a curve to a curve. And really, this is a similar technique in being able to do this without too many pins. Now, if you want to pin all the way around here, absolutely fine, to make sure that all measures up. But what I find is, let me see, whoops. Let's see there. That's it. What I find, if I put a pin, I'm going to put a pin at the other end shortly, but not immediately. So I'm lining up this very first edge. I'm doing patchwork, which it is really. So I'm going to have my stitch length at 2. Just anchor that little bit first of all. And then with this piece here, we've always going to have the curved piece on the top. I'm just pulling the curve so that it's straight with that edge, and just do a little bit at a time. So I'm straight, and then I'm allowing this curved edge to go back towards the straight edge. Okay. And you can keep checking, and when you get near, so I'm just pulling that, and you can put your finger down there. So when we're getting near to the pin, I can put my finger down and sort of pull the underneath, for it to fit. And it's amazing how it does just, let me see, that straight edge. It was all going so well when I was doing, that's it. Oh, that's the, there we go. So we're going round to get to the pin. When we get to the pin, we can stop there, and then we'll take this other end and line that up just there and put a pin, just so we've anchored that end one as well. And then what we're going to do again, so I'm holding one piece with my left hand, and I'm just allowing the curved edge to go back towards the straight edge. And then, as I say, like here, I'm now almost there. So I'm just holding that together, press this down so it's flat against the straight edge, and bring that all the way up. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of excess there, but then what we have, when I turn it this way, we've got a beautiful curve. There we are, all the way around there. And it just went together really, really easily. So we're going to do the same with the other side. I'll turn it back again. So on this side, so you can see that's gone together really nicely. I'm going to take my other one. I've got my little nick, my notch there, right sides together where I've put that notch. Okay, line that up perfectly, and then put your pin there. Always need to have that pin just there. And then we're going to do the same here. So we're going to, here's our short edge, line that up, and we'll put a pin at that end. And we can start sewing here so that we've just anchored. And as I was saying, and I'm just going to reverse as well, you've got the edge of your fusible fleece to be able to see where you want to stitch. So I'm just letting that flow back. It's a little bit like we're using bias binding. You're making sure the curved edge meets that straight edge all the time. So I'm just letting that flow back, and I'm not stretching it, but I can see now that that fits really nicely. So I'll grab hold of that and then just carry on stitching. And the flatter you can get it on your needle bed, the better. So I just hold that down, and I can see those edges are nicely aligned. And oops, I think you can still see that there. Take my pin out now, and I'll replace it at this end. So the short edge to that end. It just holds it together because it might just slip out. So again, just let that curved edge flow towards the straight edge, and carry on a little bit further until we can see that that curved edge now can just sort of pull out towards our straight edge. And I'm just putting my nail down on there just to hold it together. And my fingers aren't that close to it. I know somebody said the day before yesterday, oh, your finger's a bit close, but actually it's fine. Okay. So there we have, that is so this is the right side. But you see how easily that went together? And we have got a lovely curved side, and there, and there. So that's working. It is, you give it a go, even if you want to try with the smallest one first. It really does work really, really easily. Now, I haven't done this, but because I don't think you'd be able to see on the camera very well. If you wanted to stitch along here, so you're stitching the seam down, and it would give you a nice stitch line around here, you can. But it's a little bit awkward. It will work, but it's awkward because it will go under the machine and you won't be able to see in there. So there's our outside. We now need to do the same with our inside edges. So I don't think I did, but on this one, on the lining piece, my long piece, I didn't do my little notches. You'll soon realise when you haven't done your notches, you've got nothing to line the curved piece up to. So I have my notches, I have one lining piece, and we're not leaving a gap on the lining this time. Okay, so line my notches up again, and not that one, and put the pin just there, and then take this edge up to that edge and put a pin in there. Okay, so straight under. So we shall be doing this 4 times, but at least you'll know exactly what you're doing. Okay, so again, I'm just holding, I've got my hand under or around this curved piece. Just let the fabric, the curved edge, line up with our straight edge, like so. And when it lines up, it will all fit together really nicely. So we're coming up to that last little bit here. So just make sure, as long as you make sure that that curved edge meets the straight edge, it's all going to fit. Oh, I need that pin, don't I? So I got to halfway. So now I want to line that edge with that edge. And we will just carry on, just allowing that curved edge to meet the straight edge. Now, you can, if you would like to, put pins all the way around there. Absolutely fine. And I think pins on this occasion would be better than binding clips. It would just hold it that little bit better. But it's working. Oh, I need that pin. So that has fitted in there really nicely as well. And then we need to do the same on the other side. So notched edge onto, you've just got to have a notch, absolutely, Pat. So pin again in there to the center, and then this, the end of the curve goes to pin to the short edge just to keep that together. So again, this is the last edge. Now mind that pin, because I'm not going to sew over it. So I'm just letting that curve, as I say, I'm just letting it slip. It's pulling itself towards it. So just let that slip. And then let's just do a little bit further round, and you'll see that that then just fits. And I can just pull that back with my nails, and that just fits all the way around there, up to the notch. And then we'll take the other end of the curve, line it up with the end of the straight piece, put a pin in there, and just carry on doing the same for the rest. Okay, so I've got that lined up, and keep the 1/4 inch, so you're keeping the edge of your foot on the edge here, and this is lining up nicely here as well. So just pull that back. The lining has got a little bit of give in it, so you can make that fit quite nicely. Okay, so we've now done that one as well. Okay, and I can turn that to the right side. Okay, and there we have what is going to be our lining. Now, we just need to put this together with our outer piece now. So you can do it one of 2 ways, as long as you have right sides of fabric together. So what I'll show you, you can't do. So this has got the outer on the outside, and I've turned the lining one as well. We can't put the lining like this to the inside because I've got the inner lining fabric next to the outer. That's wrong. So what we do need to do, I think I put, can't think which way around I put in the instructions now. So what we can do is leave the lining with the right side on the inside and put our Trug outer into the lining, which I suppose is what we usually do. And then you've got right side next to right side. Or we can have, I think I may have done this actually, we can have, yes I did do this actually, we can have the right side of the outer piece on the inside, but then we need the lining to be what I suppose you would call the right way out, so that we put the lining into the bag. So the lining has got the right side on the outside, and the outer piece has got the outer side, the right side on the inside. So as long as we've got right sides together, that sounds a bit confusing, doesn't it? And I'm going to tuck that out of the way just a minute, because we need to put our handles on. So I've already, just like we make a normal bag handle, I've already made that. This was a 3-inch strip because I've made the middle size. I've used a 4-inch strip with the largest one, but only a 3-inch strip with the middle and small one. So having made that, I'm just going to cut that into 2, and then I'm going to place this. I do it about a handle's width away from the side seam. So there's my side seam. I'm just going to pop that and put a pin just there, and then just twist this round. So I'm lining up the raw edge with the raw edge. So that's the width against it. So I'm going to put that, the width of the strap, in the handle inwards. So let's just put a pin there, and then we'll do the other side as well. And so the other side here, do exactly the same. That's the width. I will put my, and you can measure this if you want. So that's about 3/4 of an inch. Note it, yes, about 3/4 of an inch. So just pin that in place, and then bring that round and put that evenly from the side on the other side. So we're lining up the raw edge, and the handles are actually going in towards the centre. So for ease and not having pins in the way, I'm just going to stitch across these within the seam allowance of, about 1/8 of an inch in. So I just go across there, and then we'll go to this other one, just move it across and stitch across there, and then we'll swivel round to the other side and do exactly the same again. I tend not to leave pins in the work for when we're doing set around the top edge, because the pin sticks in my hand or anywhere. So if we can just anchor it with some stitching, it just saves that pins getting in the way. So having done that, we're tucking the handles down so that the lining fabric is covering it up. So we're going to line up our side seams. So where the fabric, so the holly fabric for this I've got that lining up, and we'll line this as well. So I do like to nest the seams. So I have one going one way and one the other. Just put a pin in there. And then the same at the other side. Tuck that handle down and pop the side seams together, one going one way and one the other. I'll tell you what I tend to do now. I put the pin in so it goes in slightly angled, so it holds down this seam and that one. I'll show you again on here. So that seam wants to go that way and that. So if I put my pin into the green seam at an angle, it holds the other seam down as well. So it's going across that one and also across the other one. Okay, so we're going to stitch around the top. Now I'm going to turn it the other way. So let's just turn it like this, because then I could stitch along here, along the edge of the into the fusible fleece, and I can see where I need to stitch. I will put another couple of pins along here just to hold this together as well. I think I did use binding clips before, but also along here I'm going to leave a gap along one of these long sides I'm going to leave a gap. So I'll just pull that up there. I'm going to put a pin, say just about there. I'll put 2 pins in this side so that I know I want to leave that gap. And then I'm going to stitch, well, I'll stitch from here. Okay, so if I stitch on the inside, I've got the fusible fleece as my guide. So let's start here. So, whoops, let's take our pin out here, if we'll come, and just reverse at that little bit as well. And then I can see that's all lined up. So we are just going to go around here. I didn't put an extra pin along here, but I'm using the fusible fleece as my stitch line, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. And then just keep pulling this around. Just let's make sure that this is all lined up. Should have put another odd pin in here, but that's okay. So just around the top of the fusible fleece, and just keep turning your work. Let's make sure that's all lined up. Into that corner where the seam is, take the pin out, and we're going over the handles here as well, just along there, and we're coming up to the next side where we've got to leave the gap. So just to remind myself so that I don't stitch all the way across, and make sure that is lined up nicely. Whoops, let's just pull that back just a little bit. That's it, so that my raw edges, and there's my pin to stop sewing. Okay, now what I found is if you want to clip into here you can, but I didn't find it necessary. It is nicely curved, and I didn't have to clip into there because that seam allowance has got no fusible fleece in. We kept the fusible fleece on the template. So now we have that done, I can turn this through to the right side. So just pull firstly, I think, at the handles, and it will come. I've left probably 4 or 5 inch gap to make it nice and easy to pull out. So there we are. And then we can just pull into that corner there, and this one here where my where the handles are, just push that in. But as I say, the reason this is going quite nicely is because there's no fusible fleece in the seams. So let's just see, I have got, so around the edge it's easy to just push that all back. I'm just trying to get my, I've got another little bag here with all my binding clips on. So binding clips, let's put a binding clip there. That's just holding the lining in nicely. So just tuck it back, just push that down so that the lining goes into the inside and not sticking over the top. You can press around this edge if you want to as well, but it just does go back really, really nicely. So let's just put another one along here. And now this is where our gap is. So what we can do is just turn that in. And because that fusible fleece is there, oh, look how nicely that has gone together there. You've got the turning is there already done for you. There we are. We've run out of binding clips now. Okay, let's put just one little pin just there. Okay, and we've got that all nicely, binding clips all the way around, and then all I need to do is top stitch around. So am I going to, yes I will actually, I'm going to take off my extension table so that I can, it's much easier if you've got a machine that gives you the free arm. This one's got, you know, the whole table there, but I can do it like this. So, and then again, it's probably easier Ow, you see, there's the pin and it's pricked me. Oh. Right, to close up where my gap is, first of all, which was here. Oh, right. So I'm just going to top stitch around this edge. And I'm going to go fairly close to the edge. If you want to do a couple of rows, absolutely fine. But I think by going close to the edge, you are guaranteed that you are going to catch take that away, you're going to catch that lining into your stitching. So let's just turn it that way and you'll be able to see, just push that lining in just that tiny bit more and stitching around the top, and you just keep moving around the top edge. We're coming around now to what is actually the base and along across the handles and across there. Take that off and around here. And obviously the smaller the project is, the quicker we get around the top edge. So just carry on stitching. I did increase the stitch length slightly just for this top, but I've been stitching with a 2 length. Let's pull that out a little bit. And I've moved it up to the standard 2.5, which is the length of your stitch when you turn your machine on. Okay, so we are nearly round and just a few stitches over where we started, and then we can just clip those little bits away. There we are, and we're all done, just like that. So just turn that the right way, push our lining in to the centre there, and what I should say is now fill it with sweets. Okay, so I like those like that. I'm just going to, and if we move it like that, it looks so sweet. Okay, just a good press down here. You can get your iron in and it just pushes all that fabric into the curves, but it's really, really nice and easy to make. Okay, so let's come back up. Here we are. And here it is. That lovely little trug. It looks like you could carry wood in there, kindling wood, doesn't it? But yeah, curved, nice little hands at the side if you want to do them longer. So this is the smallest one, but you could, as somebody, can't remember who said, you could hang that over a door, couldn't you? Pop a little sweet in there. It could be the Christmas door. So you hang this on the doors to each of the bedrooms and put your tangerine and your walnuts in there and your golden chocolate coins. It would be quite sweet. So there we are. That is it. And not too difficult, do you think? So cute, Heather said. So this was the middle-sized one, as you know. There is the smaller one. Oh, I've got my... There we are. There's the smaller one. Oh, so if I put it the same way and hang them up together, you can see this is the middle and this one is the small. But you get a lot of sweets in there. You really, really would. And again, as I always say to you, something a little bit different. Sweet filling. I'm thinking Quality Street. Oh, thank you, Bridget and Jill. Now I'll make a bet. I bet Jill will have one made before we get up in the morning. You've got to have your dinner though, Jill, just like I have too. Okay. So here's the little project. As it sits on your desk, just throw anything you like into it. Take anything you like out of it. Sweets and anything you like. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed tonight. You'll be making some of those for the grandchildren. So I think it's good. Yeah, oh, it could be a crib. Yeah, a little doll could go in there. I know it reminded me the shape of it. It's like a torpedo, isn't it? But you can put a little doll in there for the little granddaughters to carry their doll about. Oh, that's what a great idea. Yeah. Okay, so it is time for my dinner, and I'm sure it is yours too. Oh, you love them, Helen. So take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you'll be with me again tomorrow evening, 6:30, in the special group to be making the first 2 rows, of which there's going to be 4, because it'll be the same row twice. And I'm giving you 2 rows, but it's week 2 of the Mystery Quilt 6, and I am looking forward to it. So take care of yourselves, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.